Most guys don't realize how deep this goes. That silence isn't just an absence of words, it's a test of who you are underneath everything. You sit there, phone in hand, refreshing messages that aren't coming, replaying every conversation, every word, wondering if you missed a sign. You start thinking, maybe if I just say the right thing, it'll fix it, but that's not how this works. The silence is speaking louder than any apology or confession could, speaking about you. It's about your ability to stand still. In uncertainty, most men don't pass that test. They panic, chase, overthink, spiral. They turn into someone unrecognizable just because a woman went quiet. And the worst part? That reaction confirms everything she suspected. That you need her to feel stable. Your emotions depend on her validation. But the real ones, the ones who win with or without her, they don't move like that. They sit in the discomfort and they breathe through it. They don't chase. They recalibrate. Not to impress her, but because their life doesn't stop just because someone else pressed pause. That's the difference between the man who begs and the man who builds. And when she's silent, she's watching to see which one you are. Will you crumble or will you evolve? Will you shrink or will you expand? Because the truth is, silence isn't just her way of stepping back, it's her way of stepping aside. To see if you'll step forward into who you really are. And that's where most men fail, but not this time. Because once you understand that silence isn't punishment, it's preparation. You stop chasing people and you start chasing your potential. And that's when everything starts to shift in your favor. The moment you tie your identity to someone else's attention, you've already lost the game. You don't even see it happening at first. It starts small. She pulls back, and suddenly, your mood shifts. You skip a meal. You stop focusing on your work. The gym session you promised yourself you'd hit gets missed. And before you know it, your entire world is shrinking around one unanswered message. That's exactly what the silence is exposing, not just how you feel about her, but how you treat yourself when someone else stops clapping for you. Trust me, she notices. She might not say it, but she's watching. She wants to see if her absence has the power to control your reality. Are you still showing up for yourself? Or have you started fading just because she's not applauding anymore? That's what separates men who get forgotten from men who get respected, Evan, in silence. It's not about ego. It's about discipline. It's about whether you can stay grounded when someone else takes their attention away. Because if you need her texts, her calls, her energy to feel alive, you're addicted. The man who's dangerous isn't the one who begs for attention. It's the one who doesn't flinch when it's taken away he keeps. Moving forward, not to prove anything to her, but because he refuses to betray himself over someone else's confusion. And when she sees that, when she sees you're still building, still pushing, still focused, her silence starts to lose its point. Wait. Because deep down, she knows she didn't take your strength with her when she left. That's what makes her curious again. That's what makes her rethink. Not the guy who waits around, but the guy who keeps going, with or without her. Some women don't go silent to punish you. They go silent to find clarity, both in you and in themselves. That silence isn't just for you to figure things out, it's for her too. She's wondering how much you really value her, but also testing herself, seeing how she feels without your constant presence. And here's where most men get it completely wrong. They react. They panic. They start flooding her inbox with apologies, explanations, paragraphs of emotion, trying to solve a problem that hasn't even been spoken yet. It's desperation disguised as love. And the sad part is, all that chasing only confirms her doubts. It shows her that your peace depends on her response, that you don't know how to hold yourself steady when life feels uncertain. But that's exactly what she's hoping to seek. Can you pause too? Can you respect the distance? Not out of pride, not to mirror her energy, but because you know chasing someone who needs space is the same as running after a bird you scared away. She's not running forever. She's just trying to see how you move when you're not being watched. The guy who can sit in silence without breaking, that's the one who stands out. It's the man who makes her question everything. Not because he's manipulating the situation, but because he's mastered something rare, emotional control. Chasing is easy.
Anyone
can panic. But to be able to lean back, breathe, and say, if she's meant for me, she'll come back when she's ready. That's power. That's the kind of posture that flips the entire dynamic. Suddenly, she's not testing you anymore. She's testing herself, wondering if she's ready to face a man who doesn't chase people, but attracts them by standing firm in his own direction. Most men don't realize how obvious their emotional chaos becomes when a woman goes silent. They start overreacting, posting cryptic quotes, dropping hints, or we're sending emotional messages hoping she'll respond with care. But what they don't see is how all of that only makes her feel more distant. It doesn't draw her closer. It pushes her further away because it shows her that you've lost control of yourself. That's not attractive. That's emotional weakness in disguise. What actually makes a woman curious, what actually makes her stop and think, is not your words, not your emotional outbursts, but your restraint, your composure, your calm. When you respond to her silence by staying grounded, by not reacting with confusion or chaos, you tell her everything she needs to know without speaking. You show her that you're not the kind of man who falls apart just because someone else steps away, and that's powerful. It's rare. It's the kind of strength most people don't even recognize until it's gone. When you don't break frame, you don't start spiraling into insecurity or trying to prove your worth, you give her something to think about. It's not because you're cold, but because you're centered, because you value your peace more than you value temporary attention. That's when she starts wondering if maybe she misjudged you. Maybe you're stronger than she realized. Maybe you don't need her validation the way she thought you did. Whether she reaches out or stays silent, you've already won, because you've proven to yourself that you're not controlled by the external world. You're building something stronger inside. The truth is, that kind of emotional strength is magnetic. Not just to her, but to the life you're about to create. When a woman pulls back, a lot of men make the mistake of mirroring that silence out of pure ego. They think, if she's ignoring me, I'll ignore her harder. But that's not power. That's just reaction. It's you letting her control your behavior from a distance. Real strength isn't about matching her silence. It's about rising above it. Not rising above to manipulate, not to prove anything, but because you're genuinely focused on your own growth, your own mission. There's a huge difference between silence that's coming from pain and silence that's coming from peace. She can feel that difference. Everyone can. Out. When you're quiet because you're hurt, you radiate tension. But when you're quiet because you're healed, you radiate confidence. And that confidence doesn't scream, it doesn't beg, it doesn't even explain itself. It just exists. It's steady. It's calm. That's the kind of energy that sticks with people, even if they don't know why. That's the kind of energy that makes her question if she underestimated you. Is he silent because he's wounded or because he's evolved? Most men don't realize that she's not just testing your feelings, she's testing your foundation. Are you standing on her approval or on your own 2 feet? And when your silence is rooted in self-respect, in peace, in discipline, not pettiness, that's when you stop playing games entirely. That's when you stop needing closure, validation, or explanations. Because you've already given yourself the only thing you truly needed, your own approval. And that's the shift that changes everything. Suddenly it's not about her anymore. It's about you. It's about becoming the kind of man who's untouchable, not because he's cold, but because he finally understands that his worth was never tied to someone else's attention in the first place.